How to stain an inside concrete floors. In this video, we're going to talk about a project we just did. It's a basement floor, about 2 years old. The size of the project is about 1,248 square feet. It's going to be a finished pavement for a playroom, ping pong tables, and entertainment, kind of a men's cave. The project also includes a storage area where the air conditioning is, and as well as underneath the stairway to the upper floor. The concrete is 2 years old, but it has a lot of tire marks from the kids playing with their plastic cars on it. To clean the floor, we decided to grind it. So we use a medium because we only want to clean the floor, which is a very, very light grinding process that we do to it. Before we start the projects, we make sure that both entrances to the basement are protected with paper and cardboard and tape with tape that will not damage wherever you're sticking it to. Here's the entrance to the garage. You can see that we covered the edges to the corner of the door there to make sure that nothing is damaged as we come in and out with our equipment, hoses, and stuff like that. Also, there was a metal plate on the outside of the garage door, so we also taped it and covered. The furniture that's inside, we like to use 3M plastic. It's about 4 feet high and about 90 feet. It comes in a roll already, pre-packed from Home Depot in this area, so you can see it has a tape to stick to it. We also discovered, as we inspected the floor, that it had basically, there was a hole underneath the shower pan, between the floor and the shower pan, so we basically inserted some backer rod to fill the hole so we can put concrete, it will not fall in there, and then we apply our mortar. We like to use our Seal Green patch repair mortar to fill it, simply because it absorbs color. You will see at the end of our video what it looks like nothing ever happened in there, because it absorbs color, makes it look really good without having some gray looking material at the end. Also, this basement have what we call break joints or control joints. We clean them up and then we apply the cement. It doesn't have to be perfect because in the grinding process it will smooth it out, so we use that. Here you see us actually grinding. We like to use wet grinder so there is no dust, so and everything remains safe without the combination of asbestos or dust or anything like that. The grinder also cleans up the break joints. As we clean up the break joints, they will leave a really nice line on the floor, and later on when we apply that color, it looks really good, a very professional finish in the floor without having those what we call dust catchers on the line. Okay, so that's what we do there. We just basically grind it wet, collect the material, take it with us, and then after this process, we actually go ahead and wash the floor. The washing of the process of the floor basically includes using our 17-inch green scrubbing pad that we have and our color stain primer cleaner, which basically cleans the floor and all that dusting and the dirt that is left over from the grinder very well. We use a shop vac with a water hose to clean up, put water and wash it. Here's a picture of the floor actually grinded and washed and drying. Typically this will take us about 2 days. Then after that we apply the color. This would be like a Wednesday. So we usually start on a Monday, on a Tuesday after preparing the floor and washing, and then on a Wednesday we apply color. The color here is not drying, so you will see us applying the color where you can see that it's actually variegating. Initially, when you apply that color, it looks like a solid color, but it slowly stops absorbing the concrete and creating its patterns and absorption variations. Is what we call a variegated floor. In that. And you can see here, this has been probably about an hour since it was applied. Here's how we apply it. We like to spray the floor, make it nice and wet looking because it is colored with water, and that is going to absorb into the concrete, which is one of the great properties of concrete because it absorbs water very well. And that's the reason why cleaning is very important. So now that we spray it all, as you can see right there, it doesn't have to be perfect. We then back roll it, and that's just a simple roll. We're not pressing it. We're just basically rolling the areas that we have just sprayed. You want to make sure you stay in a consistent step process there to make sure there's no dry lines. The other thing that we do before we actually spray the sections, like you saw I'm doing there, is we also apply it to the edges first. You want to make sure that the person doing the edges and the person spraying coordinate their time. You don't want to spray a lot on the edges and then come back because there will be lines left that are not very easy to clean up. As you can see here, it's using a 2-inch brush, and then just basically moving around the floor very simply and staining, make sure that it's nice and area. in that part. And that's how we do the edges. So coordination between that and the timing is very good. And here's a picture of what the floor looks like. After we let it dry, we come back and then we do a very light mist spray all over the floor to create what I call color balancing the floor. Once that's done, we let it dry. The next day on Thursday, we come back and we apply our epoxy, Seal Green Epoxy 10 Vapor Barrier. This is a sealer that seals the floor, prevents humidity from transferring onto your floor, so in case you spill something or humidity on the floor will not come through. And then we have what we hook, I use a 1/4-inch snap roller. In this case, it's an 18-inch roller, and we apply the coating. And you can see it goes milky white, and then we basically clears up to be clear. Here's a picture of the storage area that we did the same thing. Except in this case, we did not grind the storage area. We basically just washed it and cleaned it real well. Because the customer did not want any color there, so there was no necessity to do that. So you can see that you could also put a clear coat and take advantage of what the concrete looks like naturally. Here's what we call the first coat apply. Sometimes you have to deal with large items in the basement, so we make sure that we move them and try to move them around the least as possible in that area. And then, so that's one of the things that happens, that we have to deal with things the customer cannot move out of the basement. Here's a picture where it looks like a reseal coated. Here you can see how we transition to the color area. We put tape behind the door, we color it, and then we seal everything together so it looks like the room goes into it. In the final process, we apply our glossy W10. Typically would be on a Friday when we finish the floor. As you can see, this is a concrete floor, and they're not going to be 100% all over the place, 100% glossy, even though you apply the sealer to all areas, because the concrete is not perfectly smooth, so it will never reflect the light 100% glossy in those locations. But you can see that actually it is. So no matter where you stand in the room, you will always get a gloss. You just have to walk around and see the variation of the gloss. So here's a picture before and after, what it looks like from construction to finish of the basement, and remove the plastic. Here, you can see how the variegation of the concrete absorb at different ratios. You can see the dark areas is where the color puddle more than the absorber. You can see how it absorbs more in others. You can see that the break joints are clearly now part of the floor. They're not white lines or gray lines that you would get if you use other materials to fix the floor. Here's a picture of the bathroom where we actually filled the hole with a pad cement, and you can see that by the shower where the hole was, you cannot even tell that we actually filled the hole with concrete there in that area. So the floor looks really good and glossy. You can see the transition to the storage room as well, and that's a nice clean room where you can store things without worrying about getting humidity. It also reduces a lot of bugs with there's no humidity in the basement, and so there's less availability for bugs to exist there in that part. So it's a nice and clean storage room, even under the stairways in that part. A lot of people use under the stairways for the kids to play. Here's the final picture of the stair finish with the carpet and the variation. For more information, visit sealgreen.com or call 800-997-3873.